Hey YouTube, Gundam here. Welcome back to Space Engineers again. This one's a new one instead of an old one that I've just repurposed. Then a lot of you are thinking, what the hell is this? Well, if you play Empire at War, that should look kind of familiar. This is the Mon Calamari MC30C Frigate. Yes, Frigate. Compared to the Imperial Star Destroyer husk right below it, it's not much of a frigate now. I mean, the Nebulon B there's a frigate, but that's a third the size. This thing, not so much. However, it is lightly armored and doesn't have many guns, but it does pack some torpedoes. So let's go over this thing. Forward firing, a heavy torpedo launcher, 2 laser cannons, okay? And then running down the length, on the bottom here, you see 3 laser cannons, sides 2 more, 1 on the top with 2 more there. We're already at 8 laser cannons and we've barely gone down the length of this thing. Here, it gets a little tricky. There's only 4 laser cannons each side for a total of 8 more. Plus these at the front, that's 16. But think of that. 16 laser cannons. There's another one back here. Another one down here. There's a total of 18 laser cannons on this ship. But that's not all of its firepower. Here, there are 8 concussion missile launchers. 16 laser cannons? Or excuse me, not 16, 18. Remember, this thing has 19. But this thing has 18, yet it's way bigger. How many turbo lasers does it have? 1. Now this is that rapid firing, dual purpose, heavier turbo laser, but turbo laser on this thing is 7, and it has that big one. Or is it 9? I forget. But it does have this big one. This does not. Now, the ship is way bigger. But where this only has the 1 forward cannon, you have 2 forward guns and a torpedo for forward firing. What else does this ship have? Well, besides the only top turbo laser, obviously there's these 3 things. Now, what the heck are these? These are actually heavy torpedo turrets. There's 6 of them. This thing is able to defend itself against fighters very well with 18 laser cannons. Remember, this has 19. But neither of these have a rotary blaster. The difference is, this is a Mon Calamari ship, so it's much bigger and very, very heavily shielded. This thing's shields, in total, 2 small generators there, and a small generator here. This is just ridiculous on its shields. We'll get to it right now. Notice there's a difference in the shade of red there. There's a reason. And that eye is not on top. Also, what about this? And this. Watch this. Going through the innards of the ship. Starting from the front. Here we have the bridge area where there's a giant hunking block mass at the main bridge, which has regressed back quite a bit. It's actually very hard to KO the bridge. Cryogenic stasis, a remote block hiding in there. Turrets, lots of cryo. This thing actually needs a bit of a crew. Go to the back, you have even more cryo with a gravity generator and the medical room. So, yeah, it's kind of a big ship. Needs a big crew. But what about the actual ship? Well, oxygen tanks galore with oxygen generators. And the one thing I'm not even going to mention about it is the gyros. Because that would just be ridiculous. There are gyros everywhere on this thing. But this is what I was talking about earlier. The Mon Calamari ships are ridiculous on their shields. This is a heavy shield generator with plenty of capacitors and flux coils, and there's 2 of them side by side. Right next to that is a few nuclear reactors that aren't very well defended, but that's okay. There's spaced armor throughout the whole ship. Like I said, gyros. There's one of the main nuclear reactors, and this is something you're going to see. There's an internal rib that runs down the length of the ship. So, you'll notice that. It's all over the place. Here's some of the thruster network, and pistons for the connectors with their own camera. Internal thrusters, and then the shield generators. But hold on, I thought there were shield generators over there. There are. And these aren't the only 4. Those 2 and these 2 with a gigantic bank of gyros. Those aren't the only ones. Go down further, giant bank of gyros, plenty of batteries. Gyro, gyro, more gyro. This is actually one of the reverse engine, or no, that's the forward engine. That's one of the additional forward engines that's buried inside the ship with gyros, cargo containers, cargo, nuke, cargo, nuke, running through the ribbed section with another 3 nuclear reactors in the back. If you want to really bring down the ship, you got to hit this entire spine. It's pretty big. This is the reverse engine set here. Excuse me, this is forward section, but this is reverse. These are some of the reverse engines. 4 sage thrusters and a series of smaller thrusters as part of the reverse, with more gyros. But there's also additional nuclear reactors underneath. There's 3 there, with more gyros and batteries. But heading towards the back of the ship now, all the way back here, oh look! More shield generators! The big ones! This thing has a total of 6 of these big shield generators. Each one has 8 flux coils and 8 capacitors. So, it's very heavily shielded. And here's the beacon. Right underneath the turbo laser is the beacon. Going back from there, more gyros and the last nuclear reactors. And then you get to this big spine, which is riddled with gyroscopes, cargo containers, and an occasional nuclear reactor. But when I say riddled with cargo, I think there's about 70 cargo containers in there. And a few nuclear reactors. That one even connected. It's not even connected. So, yeah, gyros. And there's another nuclear reactor with the rear primary engine and a couple guns. That's it. It's quite basic on the inside. A good amount of forward thrust because there's 4 more sage thrusters hiding inside. The reverse thrust is a bit lacking, but it's not too lacking. I mean, you do have 4 sage thrusters blasting for the the reverse thrust. But it's better to just show you. Now, one thing you'll notice, besides the antenna there, there's this little bit here. What's the heck is this? The emergency, or just the better looking bridge. And this is what I'm going to show you around. These doors are meant to be locked during flight. Now, do you remember the weight of the Nebulon frigate at 120 million? This thing's 209. But there's no heavy armor blocks on this thing. It's all light armor. There's internal ribbing, but that's about it. Oops. So this ship, it is a pretty ugly ship overall, but then again, it's not that bad. So the pistons are on there. So is the forward guns. But let's take this thing for a spin. Notice it's not too bad on the spin for such a heavy ship, but it's something. Now I need to get some distance if I'm going to fly the ship, so let's go up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 meters per second, and there's 10. Gonna go to the right now. 1. It does struggle to go this way. 5, 6, 7. There we go. Good enough. I'm going to come a little bit back to the left now. So it does struggle with the side to side. The up and down's okay, but not great. But now, let's go reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. So reverse isn't bad, but the forward, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Yeah, you'd expect the forward to be pretty decent, and it is. Even though it's very, very heavy and very well shielded, it's surprisingly fast in a straight line. That's how a lot of ships are for the Rebel Alliance, at least. Next up, at this point, I'm going to be working on the... Is that thing floating away? I think it might be. Next up, I'm going to be building the Acclimator class assault ship, which is going to be... It's sitting over there on the left. I think the thing might be slowly floating away this whole time. No, it's not moving. Okay. So the Acclimator assault ship's coming next, and that is not the size. It actually needs to be a bit bigger, not much. But there you go. The Mon Calamari ships are always big. The MC30 down there, it is pretty big, but it's not that heavily armed compared to the Nebulon B frigate. The thing is, the Nebulon B is meant to take out small ships like frigates and fighters, while the MC30 can deal with fighters to a degree, but its priority is big capital ships, big cruisers like the Imperial, or vessels like Allegiance, Arbalest Praetor, big capital ships, quickly. And, well, it's not too bad at its job. With 6 heavy torpedo launchers. I mean, it does struggle a bit, but 6 heavy... Ooh. 6 heavy torpedo launchers is a lot of firepower. Oops, sorry. There you go. Much better. So 6 heavy torpedo launchers is pretty good. This turbo laser is okay, but not that great. 8 concussion missile launchers. Meh. It's really those torpedoes. I mean, there's that at the front, but it's really those torpedoes. Those are the real firepower of this ship. But it's the shielding. It's a Mon Calamari ship. It has ridiculously good shields. The Quasar Fire, I think, had 1 of those big shield generators and 2 small ones. This thing has 6 of them. So it can take a beating. So, yeah. I will catch you later. Probably going to work on the Acclimator next. Maybe the Vindicator hull. We'll see.